Lagan is a story of what? Now, if we just say the British had a cricket match with the Indians and that's it, that's an event. Anand, the story of Anand, a guy who dies, he has lymphosarcoma of the intestine and he died. And he died. That's the story.
Hi.
Hi.
How are you?
How are you? Hi. Nice to see you.
What was that spark that started it? Why did you decide that you wanted to do this workshop?
On screenwriting, right?
Yeah.
First of all, I wanted to learn screenwriting. And I have a very simple argument for myself. It's an argument for myself. That with every role that you do, you're an actor, so you have the technique to do different roles. But when you do a different role, you've got to start reinventing the character and try and figuring out who this character is. So when you start doing something different in the film industry, even though over the years I have been contributing to writers and directors in a small way, in a scene here, in a scene there, I would rewrite. So I've always wanted to make a movie on my own.
Yeah.
So when I decided to make a movie, I had to write it because nobody was going to write it for me. So when I wrote it, I realized that I think again I need to reinvent myself as a writer to understand. Just because you do so many years in the industry doesn't make you automatically qualify for the job of being a writer director, because you feel that you know how it works, how to piece the picture together. So I found myself wanting to learn a lot more. For the last 8 years I've been very seriously studying through books. I found a guru in New York who I'm in touch with every single day, who helps me with the craft. I used to go to New York and sit with the person for hours on end, and then when I used to come back, I used to feel so good.
Who's this in New York?
Is a writer called Alex Dinelaris Jr.
Okay.
He wrote, and when I met him, he had done a film and a half and just a few stage plays, but I just found him so passionate about screenwriting. He went ahead and won an Oscar 2-3 years into my friendship with him. He won. He wrote The Birdman movie. The Birdman.
Oh my God.
So here I am with this guy who was so helping me from time to time, and now suddenly I'm dealing with an Oscar-winning writer. And I thought I'd lose his friendship because he's going to get busy now. He's going to get really busy, and he did get busy. Still is busy. I spoke to him for half an hour this morning, but we became friendlier for some reason. I don't know how that happened. So when my script kind of was ready, I decided to launch my company, Irani Movie Chol. And when I did that, I said, instead of having a party, let's call him down, let's fly him down, use that, whatever I'm spending on a party, do a day-long screenplay writers workshop and make him share and show the importance. So I invited 280 screenwriters from professionals to semi-professionals to students from FTII to Whistling Woods to every single student that was doing screenwriting. I personally invited for this, and we had a wonderful workshop. Then we discussed that again this morning, that we were planning to do an exchange program, pick up 6 special students do an exchange program. All that didn't happen because of the lockdown. So instead, I just said, people were calling me, youngsters, can you help me with this part of my script? Can you help me with that part of my script? So 4 of them were talking independently to me every morning. Somebody else. I said, why don't you just come on this something called a Zoom call? I said, something called a Zoom call. Let's do a nice Zoom call. So the 4 of them came. We filled up 4 boxes over here. And said, tomorrow can we call a couple of our friends? I said, yeah, okay, no harm. So there were 15 suddenly. We've gone up to 200, and every day. So we've done about 160 sessions. Alex has come for the session. Ram has come. Raju has come for the sessions. Alex has done 2 very long sessions with them. And those are, those are real hardcore technique, which I think is so important to.
It's very hard to break it down, but if you had to give me like a few basic tenets, like what of screenwriting, what would you call them? Like the basic pillars of screenwriting.
Don't tell me a story via plot. Tell me a story via the hero's journey, through the hero's journey. Follow the hero's journey in his ups and downs and his obstacles, and that will form the plot. But don't say plot. This happened, then that happened, then that happened. Because then what you're doing is you're telling a general story. We forget. We have to get into the heart of the lead person, the lead character. He should be navigating us through his world. Stories about human beings, not about incidents. If they're only about incidents, you might as well make a documentary. Stories about the anguish and the challenges that a human being faces to achieve a goal. So that's one thing I would say, that don't make it a series of incidents.
So do you remember such a movie? If you had to tell me an example,
every movie
where you feel
every movie, every good movie. You take Lagan.
Yeah.
Right? Lagan is a story of what? The British challenged the Indians and the Indian for. I think it is because one man had the guts to make a bet with the Britishers, and then the problems that he went to for making that bet, and almost losing out and obliterating his own people.
Yeah.
By putting them in the soup. But he had to rally the forces. Now, if we just say the British had a cricket match with the Indians and that's it, that's an event.
Yeah.
Any other movie, which is your favorite movie? In English, Hindi, whatever. Give me.
A Few Good Men.
Any movie. A Few Good Men is about, you can say that it's about a code red that happened and the controversy that behind it. All right, that can read in the newspaper.
Yeah.
It's about a young lawyer who had to come out from the shadows of his father. Who refused to go into a courtroom, but had to because he was a good man. So it's the story of your lead character.
Yeah. Yeah.
That he had no other way to go but to call out Colonel Jessup.
Yeah.
Otherwise, his career would be over, and his own battle with him being. And I don't go to court. I never know. I never do it. I do it all outside of court.
Yeah.
You have to go to court because you're a good man.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's a great example. You name the film. It's great fun, Aastha, what you're doing right now. You name the film. It's a story. It's a journey of the character. If you don't care for what happened to Tom Cruise, then A Few Good Men is a newspaper article.
In your own career, if you had to tell me a script that maybe changed how you saw scripts? Because obviously now in India, script is a thing and it's been read. I think it wasn't there like till 20 years or 15 years ago. So
I don't quite agree. I mean, all the good ones always had solid scripts.
Yeah.
Anand, the story of Anand, the guy who dies, he has lymphosarcoma of the intestine and he died. And he died. That's the story.
Yeah.
What are the incidents in Anand? None. His death was the only incident. Before that, he's teaching the world how to live.
It's his attitude, which is the movie. Yeah.
It's his attitude. It's his journey. He's teaching. He's telling you guys, what the hell is the matter with you guys? Come on, wake up. Live every life. Zindagi lambi nahi honi chahiye, badi honi chahiye. But that is one of the aspects. There's so many things. No story. We talk about structure. We talk about character building. We talk about every single tentpole that puts up a great screenplay. It's quite. How would I manage to do almost 160 classes, almost every day? Every day in the lockdown.
When you say structure, for the layperson, would you explain what is structure in a movie?
We have 2 hours to tell the story. 120 pages. I present a 3-act structure.
Yeah.
So the first act should be about 25% of the story. The next act should be, which is the conflict. The first is the setup, then there's the conflict, and then is the resolution. So the second act 2 will be 50% of the story. And the resolution, another 25%. Now, Structure starts from the moment you say that the story will end. We've accepted that the story will end. So we know, okay,
So
2 hours, story ends. We have a timeline.
Yeah.
We have to get people out of the theater in 2 hours.
Yeah.
But if we are setting up the story for 50% of the movie, the layman will turn and say, "Abhi bahut ho gaya yaar, aage hota kya hai?" So you have to have an inciting incident, an incident that takes place that interferes with our main person's life and says,
hero's
"Okay,
life.
this happened. Yeah, this happened. How does it affect him? I don't know, but it will affect him." And then he's thrown a challenge. He's offered a challenge, and he more often than not refuses it. And then when he realizes that if he doesn't refuse it, the stakes are very high. So he accepts the challenge. The day he accepts the challenge is our first hole in the ground. Which means that his journey and his journey changes. He's got to now pick up a new journey, and he starts a new road. His status quo of being where he is in his village, and he's enjoying the people, and he's singing songs with them. All that life has ended. He has accepted a challenge, and we're going to Act 2. Now he trains for Act 2. He has to train till the midpoint. Train. They're getting better. They come to the midpoint, where he has some kind of good news coming along, but it's not the perfect good news. That's a midpoint. And then the challenge stakes go higher when the big guys come and say, "Buddy, time to pay up." Now he has a new challenge with higher stakes. Takes us to the end of Act 2. Where you turn around and say, "He's lost. He's gone. There's no hope in hell for him. He's finished." And the Act 3 is how he rises from the ashes and does something.
Comes
so
back.
in a short, that's structure. And it's, I know what you understand what I'm saying in very fast, of course.
You've also spoken about the power of a scene. Like scenes also make a movie. So tell me, is there a scene in your own life that you really like doing, and you really like when you watch the movie also, you said that scene stood out for you, something that you yourself have done?
I think the scenes in Khosla are magical. That they're so tight and correct, and how the action rises from that moment on. Khosla, especially when Mr. Kher comes to meet me for the first time, Mr. Khosla and his son, and it sets up the movie in 4 or 5 lines. I just find that so beautifully written. When he says, "The plot aapka hai," so he says, "Ji, aapka hai to le lo." And the moment he says that, the movie is split wide open, and we are now say, "Oh man, we got a fight on our hands. We got to deal with this rascal man." So I think that particular scene actually, I said, "Wow!" The moment I read it, I said, "Wow, it's great." I mean, there are some lovely scenes that I have been part of in many of the films. I think some in Jolly LLB were very, very tight and beautiful. When I go to meet the industrialists, the old man industrialist, I think it so beautifully sets up what's to come. They may have won the case, but the stakes, as I said, the stakes change, because he says, "Oh, you underpaid me. You underpaid me. I'm going to give you trouble." I feel that's a beautiful moment in this film where he says, "Okay, we'll see about it. Okay, sir. Thank you." Saying, "Don't be greedy." He says, "Don't be greedy." And I find that moment is so beautiful, because I won the case. My ego of the character maybe open the case again. You know what I'm saying?
But you've also had some, like as you said, Raju came on the show. Dinner has been on some advice that they have given that has even stayed with you while you were conducting the workshop. Like some things that they've said.
Yeah, I've been hearing Raju say these things for many years. But Raju and I took them through a journey actually of how he started a movie, and what Raju said something very beautiful, that when he wrote Munna Bhai MBBS, he used to go and sleep with his buddies at the hostel, the medical hostel, the hospital premises. And he used to see all these patients come in and out, and some of the patients, how they reacted to standing in line to people. And it came out from real, so observe life around you, was something that he said, was something so beautiful. And make it personal. Make it personal. Make it something that really moves you, rather than what can be a good seller. It should move you. So I think that whole experience, I took Raju through his journey. And then Dinalaris has got nuggets all over the place all the time. He speaks of keeping conflict alive in every scene. Don't write a scene where two people are agreeing with each other, and keep the conflict going.
Yeah.
And a
Tension
lot
happening.
of screenwriters, lot of writers teaches that. But Dinalaris taught me a lot, and came and taught them also about conflict and how you keep surprising. The character should keep surprising you as a writer. You don't surprise the character. Let the character surprise you. And say, wow, the character said that. Saying, yeah, he surprised me. He threw me a line. And I think that's amazing, because eventually you're telling the story from the eyes of the character. Saying, this character gave me that line. I said, really? Yeah, he spoke back to me. And I think that's fascinating.
Yeah.
It's truly fascinating,
When you're that invested in a character, I think it might be speaking back to you. It will react in a way.
He should surprise you that, wow, the character didn't behave the way we expected him to behave.
Yeah.
Because you turn around and say, oh, the character won't do that. And you say, he just did. What are you going to do about it?
Yeah.
He did. Yeah. And that, if the character doesn't surprise you as a writer, how is it going to surprise the audience? I think that's one of Dinalaris' nuggets, one of many.
Yeah. Any of the students have asked you that has caught you unaware? You're like, oh, I didn't know that question. Like, obviously the normal questions happen, but has anybody surprised you with a really, like, a googly question?
I look forward to googlies. I think the students ask some wonderful questions. They ask some wonderful questions. We have a system, since you're asking, initially has to show scenes from different movies, say 5 scenes of, say, opening image and what the opening image should mean.
Yeah.
All right. Then we show 5 scenes of the inciting incident from 5 different movies. And then 5 different scenes from the end of Act 1. Okay. So the question that came to me, what happens between these two? You also must have felt. Sid Field drew a line and said, yeah. But what happened in between all of that?
True.
Yeah. So what we decided then to do was, especially in Act 2. In Act 2, what happens is, once you go into the new road, I always do this. The hero's life moves in another direction.
Yeah.
Between in the beginning of Act 2 to the midpoint, what happens? You've just told us what. So I said, okay, great. Let's watch the whole movie then.
Yeah.
Which I normally would describe the whole of Act 2 as an empty marshland. We don't know what to write in that, because now we've established the characters, we've established what this movie is about, we've established the flavor, the challenge, and now what happens?
Yeah.
We gotta know that we go on the journey, we start training, we find obstacles, we get there, we find some thing, and then suddenly, new challenge. That marshland is where we make most of our mistakes. So we watched about 12 movies together, from beginning to end. We watch about half an hour every day, only half an hour movie. And then we say, okay, we are now in the marshland. What do you see? So when someone asks me that, what happens between these two tent poles? Okay, that's where everybody's in trouble. We watch the whole movie and say, how did this writer navigate it from here to here?
Exactly.
Aastha, I have to mention that my partner in crime in that sense. He's a novelist like you. He's published some 6-7 novels internationally. He's my cousin's son, Aastha Atray Banan. I speak 10 minutes in a row. He sometimes brings in a beautiful perspective to that, because he's a wonderful. He just won Best Player of the Year in Canada for his.
Lovely.
So he's really my big support system, because sometimes it becomes tiring talking for 2 hours. So he'll put it into the right perspective, or he'll distill it into a simpler line sometimes.
Sure.
And of course, my students are outstanding.
Somebody who is not in your immediate circle, who doesn't know anybody who's attending, and if they want to attend, can they email you somewhere? Is there a way that they can get in touch with you?
You don't need a recommendation for this.
Yes, exactly.
You don't have to. But
there's some,
free of cost.
Yes.
Yeah, a lot of people get scared to say, oh, how much does it cost? No, nothing.
Yeah,
Nothing.
yeah.
It's something that you got to do because I think it's important.
Yeah.
It's important to do that.
And I think we need to use this time creatively so that our minds stay happy and positive.
I think it's so important what you just said. Apart from learning, I think we are sticking together as a unit, as a family, because it's been debilitating in that sense. Just
Yeah,
sticking
yeah,
around, watching people falling ill, COVID this, COVID that, heart ailment, this, heart. Everybody just hanging in together and they're checking out on each other. So
yeah.
apart from learning, I think it's just the spiral bound family is just an outstanding family. They are the sweetest
Yeah.
folk that you'll ever meet.
Thank you so much. It was lovely talking to you. Bye, bye, thanks.
Okay.
Subscribe to Midday India. Get direct notifications on all our videos by clicking on the bell icon.